everyone, and welcome to Let's Be Saints Awakened. I'm Cecilia Watson, and I'm here with Andrew Birkin, and today our special guest is my cousin, Madeline Bruno.
Okay. Our cousin, Madeline Bruno. Madeline, say hi.
Hello, happy to be here.
So Madeline was the third person that I called and asked to be on the podcast. She just, I don't know, over this year, the beginning of this year especially, she and I got really close before we even knew we were related. And I called her, and normally I would send our guests a list of virtues or topics, whatever I want them to, and let them decide what they want to talk about. But she knew immediately that she wanted to talk on the virtue of excellence. So my first question to you is, why excellence?
Well, honestly, with the Newman Center here, we go through like discipleship and stuff with the focus missionaries. And one of the things they talk about is the big three. So it's chastity, sobriety, and excellence. And chastity and sobriety always made sense to me. Like, be
Right.
chaste. We don't have to get into that. Someone else can get into that. Sobriety, like, don't drink underage, don't overconsume anything, all those things. But excellence, I was like, I don't understand what it is. Like, what? And then I would say over the past, 6 months, but just in general, over, the past 6 months, I've just been trying to figure out, what does that mean? And then in April this year, towards the end of the semester, we had, a big, people who lead Bible studies and discipleship meeting. They call it Upper Room. And they talked about the big three again. And at first I was like, we've heard this 1,000 times. We don't need to hear this again. But I really can't repeat to you what they said, but something just clicked and it made sense to where I understood kind of what excellence meant. And so kind of all summer since then, leading up till now, I've been just kind of thinking about it and catching myself being like, oh, that's not very excellent. I've done that to Andrew several times before we started recording this.
Several. Countless times.
Yeah. I don't know if I've done it to Cecilia.
Countless times.
What does that go to say about us? Just wanted to let you know.
Wasn't your episode on humility?
Right.
But yeah, so I've just kind of caught myself asking questions, and I've talked to priests and multiple different missionaries from all over the country. I was fortunate to go on the Camino de Santiago this May in Spain. So I just thought about that a lot. So that's kind of why I wanted to unpack it, because I feel like if I don't understand what that means, someone's like, excellent! What does that mean? So I figured maybe someone else could benefit from that. So that's just the first thing on my mind.
Right. I definitely know little to nothing about excellence. I'm only just now starting to learn what that is. I had the greatest pleasure of meeting the founder of Focus recently, Curtis Martin. Actually, I told him all about the podcast.
Really?
And everything. And
where did you meet him at?
It was a Catholic conference in Lafayette. I was invited last minute by a friend, Gabe Wild. You're amazing. Trying to get Gabe on the show. He's reluctant, but I think I'm gonna lasso him on. Anyways, I had the pleasure to meet Curtis, and he spoke to me a little bit on what excellence means and what it is. But up until that point, literally last weekend, I had no idea what it was. I knew Madeline wanted to talk on it, but I didn't know what it was. When I wrote this episode, when we put it together, I found the vice was perfectionism, which doesn't make sense if you don't really know what excellence is. So, right. Madeline, our next question for you is, what is excellence?
Okay, so I pulled up kind of the textbook definitions. Excellence is extremely simple. So the very first sentence in Curtis Martin's book, we call it the Blue Book, the discipleship book. It says, excellence is the ability to give the best of ourselves in our vocation and daily responsibilities. So pretty much just giving 100% in everything that you do. But I've thought about it further, because I'm like, why is this part of the big three? They focus so much on that. Why is it so important if it's just be good, but it just goes so much further than that. And I think the past couple of days leading up to this, I've been thinking okay, I know it's important, but why? How can you put that into words? But I've started to think about avoiding the near occasion of sin and doing things that promote your lifestyle to point you in the direction of Jesus. And I don't know, that's just kind of been what I've been thinking of. So, like, for example, right now, I'm doing this project for a class where we have to analyze somebody who may not be living the healthiest lifestyle in whatever way, shape, or form. And we don't need to get into the project itself, but one of the examples was like sedentary lifestyle. So basically meaning that like you don't move around much, you don't really exercise, you kind of just sit around and like, I don't know, eat Takis or whatever. Like you're just not being like, you're not being healthy to your body and to your lifestyle and to the people around you. And so that's just one example that I've been thinking of recently is like, not taking care of yourself well, or I got a speeding ticket in the end of July, and that kind of stuff, just like, I don't want to say laziness, but just, I don't know, but like basically just like not doing the best you can to avoid the near temptation of sin. So like, I know here in the South, we kind of like to drive a little crazy and we have a mind of our own. But the speeding thing, for example, granted, I was in Texas, but it's fine. Like, if I would have been paying attention to the speed limit and not like joking with my sister's boyfriend sitting in the passenger seat, then I would have noticed the speed limit and then not gotten a ticket, and that would have cost me to not, maybe say some choice words and get really upset because it was $330. But which
crazy.
I know it wasn't that bad. I swear it's inflation. I was only going 13 over.
That's such like a college girl response. I swear it's inflation.
Okay, backstory. Y'all don't have to keep this in. Backstory. I got a speeding ticket like 3 years ago, going 17 over, and it was like $50 cheaper, if not more than that, like almost $100 cheaper actually.
Wow.
And then this one was way more expensive, but I was going 13 over, so I wasn't going as fast.
Were you in?
I was in Texas for both of them.
Sounds like inflation to me.
Yeah, I think it's inflation, but we don't have to get into that. Y'all can do another episode on politics.
No, I was talking about that with Father Paul today. Not gonna happen.
We will not. Politics? We will not touch on politics.
I think the only thing would be like
that'll have to be a rule for
like
my dad.
Pro-life stuff.
No,
your dad's coming on.
Yeah, at some point.
Pro-life, I'll accept, but I'm not.
Yeah, I think pro-life is important, but I guess like just thinking about little daily things in your routine that cause you to sin. So I think about excellence a lot when I'm like going to confession or doing an examination of conscience, or just like if I'm like feeling bad about something, But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. For some context, Madeline talked about excellence in one of our Bible study sessions.
I don't think
meetings. I don't think you were there. But it was really good, and that was the first time that I had ever heard of it. And it was kind of funny that was the first time that I'd ever heard of it, because it just made so much sense. It just clicked.
And also whenever I talked about it in that Bible study, I think Matthew was there too. Mm-hmm. Matthew Burnham, shout out. I'm going to name drop him. But that was like maybe a week or less after that meeting in Upper Room. So we were like all excited about it. I'm going to have to see if they have like a recording or something of what they talked about, because it was really good. But continue.
Yeah,
sorry.
But it was really good. And like I was saying, like it just made sense. And even since then, I've caught myself so many times. I was gone all summer, but now being back and having all this free time in my hands, I've caught myself really being like, okay, I could go in my room and shut the door and stay on my phone. Mm-hmm. But the excellent option in this decision would be to go into the living room or go into the kitchen and see if my mom needs help with dinner, or like, something, I don't know. But I really truly have caught myself thinking with that option in mind, where I wasn't before, which is kind of crazy because, like I said, that was the first and only time that I've really ever heard it.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, over the summer, I tried to practice it as much as I could, but since I've been home and now that I have more free time, you realize very quickly how many times and how often throughout the day that I pick the lazier option.
Mm-hmm.
Steven, did you hear what she just said?
Oh my gosh.
My brother, Steven, did you hear that?
I know, Steven, it's really tempting. And after a long day, sometimes you just want to go in the room and shut the door and watch Instagram Reels. But that's not always the best option.
That's why excellence also ties in with chastity and sobriety, because sitting on your phone for 2+ hours, or I don't even matter how long, scrolling on TikTok or Instagram Reels is an example of sobriety.
Yeah.
You know, that's disconnecting your brain from your free will and like all of the things that could, I mean, I guess you could, sometimes I see like, let's pray together on TikTok. And those are great, but it's kind of rare.
Them?
Huh?
You skip them, don't you?
Sometimes.
Oh my gosh! Father Paul!
Not very excellent.
But that is an example of what not to do.
Not very demure. Keep that in. I want to put that on the, it has to be there.
Yes.
Okay. And you can keep me saying to keep it in if you want. I don't know.
I'm going to keep all of that in.
Great.
Perfect.
But yeah. I'm glad that that the whole talk on excellence in that Bible study actually clicked with you, because I was kind of worried because it's such a broad topic, and like I was telling y'all before, like it's really hard to explain it. And Andrew mentioned perfectionism. Like, it's not perfectionism, and I'm sure we'll get into that. It's not perfectionism, but it's also not laziness. You know, so it's like very specific and simple, but also very broad definition. So I'm glad that it like made sense to you. That makes me happy.
Yeah, I don't know, it just kind of made sense because although it is so broad, it is so simple at the same time, of just a matter of why would I not want to be the best version of myself? Whether you're religious or not, I feel like as human beings, we strive to be good. Like, we strive to be the best of whatever we want to achieve, you know, to just be the best versions of ourselves. So in my brain, I was like, well, duh, you know, why would I not want to be the best version of myself, or the version that God created me to be? Like, why would I not want to do that? And by working towards that, you're slowly but surely achieving excellence.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
And I think you have to be really careful with that. And correct me if I'm wrong, because like I said, I know nothing about excellence. But I feel like a lot of people strive to be excellent in a selfish way. It's like,
I was gonna say
because they want to be better than everyone else, or you know, they want to show off.
They feel like they have to prove something.
I'm thinking like gym bros who work out. With these...
he's been thinking about this. It sounds like.
Okay. But seriously, these guys who are just putting on a bunch of muscle just for show. It's like they're not. There's no real reason behind it other than they want to show it off.
Yeah.
So I think definitely we have to be careful with where our heart is and where our intentions are when striving for excellence.
Right. That's a big thing. Is like, even with Catholics or any sort of Christian or any religion, really, like, some people can get really caught up in following the rules. We were talking about this and stuff yesterday. Like, you can get really caught up in following the rules because, you know, more than likely you're not by yourself when you go to church, you know, and so you want to make sure that you're kneeling and standing correctly, and like just all these things, or, you know, every single word to every single prayer. But like, if you don't even understand it, then what's the point? And I was talking to another name drop, Laura Chrisman, about how that's kind of a certain level of vanity. So it's like I said, excellence is such a broad topic because it really just covers like all of sin. But that's a big thing, is like not being so perfect and vain, and, you know.
Yeah. No, I've never thought of it that way.
And then another thing they talked about, sorry, more things are coming to my brain. My brain.
Awesome.
That's why you're here.
But another thing they talked about in that upper room meeting was like just practical ways that happen to college students, because I know it's probably mostly college students listening to this. Procrastination, snoozing your alarm, you know, skipping class just because you don't want to go. You know, I will say that my car died yesterday and I literally couldn't get to class. That's understandable, and I think God forgives you for that. And I emailed the professor and it's fine. But like, just there's all kinds of stuff like that. Or, you know, like, it's okay to have a drink if you're over 21. You know, it's okay to like go out and do some line dances. But if it gets to the point where like, you know, you're taxing on your body or your soul, then like, you know, so those are just kind of some little examples that college students kind of struggle with. Or, you know, staying up till 2 a.m. unless like you literally just can't fall asleep. I think that's okay. But, you know, sleep is important for your body. I'm a kinesiology major, so I'm huge on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I never sleep.
And so, yeah, Andrew.
is gonna die young. Anyways, continue.
Yeah. I don't know. I think those are just some practical ways that kind of help to like make more sense to me as someone who also never had really any understanding of excellence. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. Given those examples that you just gave us, what are some things that we can do to like encourage others to strive for excellence?
Well, I think with anything in the Christian Catholic world, like if you just do it on your own and not have to, like without having to say anything, being humble. We've been talking about the litany of humility, super fun. You should look it up and pray it every night. It's awesome. Cecilia, thank you for that. But just like people will notice that there's something different, and obviously your first answer is Jesus, like that's why I'm so awesome. But then your second answer could be, if they're interested, like because I strive for excellence and I strive to like stay in virtue and keep my heart and my lifestyle in that direction. So I think setting an example just by doing it yourself helps a lot. And then, I mean, it's kind of hard because I feel like holding other people accountable with excellence is literally just like being a good friend. And that sometimes that includes being like, Andrew, you need to sleep more. I love you, but you need to sleep more. And Andrew's a great person. Not mad at you at all. I get it. It's okay. We're all humans. I just need to say that. But I think just being honest with your friends and stuff in a loving way, not to where it's like, I sleep 8 hours a night and you sleep 2, and that's a problem. So, it doesn't need to be a comparison thing, because then that's vain. That's not very excellent,
Yeah.
And then, like, as you start thinking of this stuff, you're like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know, I forgot to put on deodorant this morning, and then I smell, and I'm like, okay, you're fine, But, I don't know. I think just holding people accountable and kind, loving ways and setting an example is kind of the best thing you can do,
Yeah.
That's something Daniel and I go back and forth on all of the time. Daniel, we had him on, and I'm not sure if we discussed it in his episode or not, but it was holding your friends accountable for their sins, and not in a like condemning way, like what are you doing, but in a like, I want to help you, like let's grow in excellence together.
Yeah. I said not necessarily calling someone out, but just calling someone higher.
Yeah.
But another thing, going off of what you said, I think especially in college, where I feel like people are at their peak of vanity, one of the best things that you can do when it comes to excellence is lead by example. Because 99% of the time, we don't know what we're doing. We're looking at the people around us. Well, if you're working on your excellence, the people around you who like love you and look up to you, like your friends, they're going to be like, well, I mean, Cecilia had the opportunity to do this and she chose this instead. I feel like I could do that too.
And they might not even know that you're specifically trying to be excellent, or even that you're specifically Catholic, but they'll notice something and they might start doing something and they don't know what it is, but it's excellence.
Yeah. Yeah. For me personally, I find that if I'm around someone who is like, I don't want to say like is excellent, but is definitely practicing excellence, or I really wouldn't know how to correctly word that, to be honest, you guys. But if I'm around someone who's doing those kind of things and like making the right decisions and choices, I'm more attracted like towards that person, not in like a weird way, but just like you're I don't know, you're doing the right thing and you're good, and I want to be around you and I want to be like you.
You have what I want. It's like you're living the way that I want to live.
Yeah, like it's not like you're jealous of them. It's like the saints. It's like the saints, like looking up to them and being like, oh, you live such this good life. And you're obviously
role
human
model.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like a level of like jealousy or idolatry or anything, but I definitely know what you mean.
Yeah. And I think, goodness is just so attractive. And if someone is working on achieving excellence, they're, generally working on achieving good.
Yeah.
And so, boom.
So, in regards to excellence, I did my research. Again, I'm no expert on this virtue at all, but I did find that the direct vice of excellence is perfectionism. and I didn't really understand that either, just because like I don't know. I guess I did some research on it when I wrote this episode and wrote the questions and whatnot. But I didn't. I mean, I just didn't know. Do you have anything to say on that before I read what I found?
You can read what you found if you want. You sent it to me, so it's okay.
I did. Hang on, guys. Let me pull it up. So, in regards to excellence, it says perfectionism, on the other hand, is considered a vice because it distorts the pursuit of excellence. It involves an obsessive need to meet unattainably high standards, often leading to stress, anxiety, and a sense of inadequacy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a very descriptive definition.
It continues and says, while the pursuit of excellence is rooted in a healthy desire for growth and improvement, perfectionism is driven by fear, specifically the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, and the fear of not being enough. That's even more descriptive, I think, and that really
Yeah.
helps hone in on the key differences of excellence and
Yeah.
perfectionism.
Right. Well, I definitely think that, like, it says the stuff about, like, failure and, you know, being judged and all those things. Like, we shouldn't worry about people judging us because, like, God's the
ultimate judge.
Yeah. But, like, I do think that we in excellence, we are striving to avoid those things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the issue with perfectionism, like we were mentioning, kind of ties in with vanity and feeling like you have to prove something. And, oh, I hit the table. I'm sorry. Feeling like you have to prove something and getting to the point where it's distracting. Like I mentioned, when people get so caught up in the rules, like, you know, actually still, what's the prayer that we pray at the very beginning of a rosary? Sometimes I still don't even know it. The Apostles' Creed?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like I've always struggled with that prayer, you know? Or like a couple years ago, I sat down and I just wrote out the Hail Mary and like kind of went through and annotated it like you did probably in high school in an English class. And it like clicked and made so much more sense to me. Because I wasn't trying to like be perfect and like do it for a grade and all the things because I went to a Catholic school like Cecilia.
Mm-hmm.
And so I
Did
feel
you?
like Queen of Heaven.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so not
Okay.
in high school, but so I feel like stepping out of perfectionism, meaning like if it gets to the point where it's distracting you from the point of just trying to get to heaven, then like that's a problem, you know? So that even if that's with people who work out, and that could be anything, that could be bodybuilding, that could be Pilates, literally anything. If it gets to the point where you're just trying to like meet that next goal or like, you know, I don't know, win the t-shirt or whatever you're trying to do, like that defeats the point. You're doing this specifically, that topic, to like better your physical health and your body and all those things, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. And it's because the definition of excellence is so simple, there's a very like kind of a blurry line, but we have to remember that the idea of excellence is huge and covers all bases. But yeah, I think just remembering that perfectionism can distract us. That maybe can help us kind of stay away from it.
Yeah, and I guess I would think that perfectionism is like they had said in whatever Andrew had read, that it was pretty much purely driven from fear and vanity of like, I can't mess up, I can't fail, I can't do this, so it has to be perfect. But I think excellence is more from just the desire to do good and to be good and to do the right thing. Where obviously, I mean, perfectionism is a vice, so therefore it is not of God, and excellence is of God, and it is good. So that was so dumb. Sorry, but I don't know. I think that perfectionism is definitely just all like all of these common things of like fear, anxiety, of all that is just stemming from the devil, and so. I don't know. I was going somewhere with that, and then it ended up just sounding really dumb, and I'm really sorry,
No,
you guys.
it sounds great.
Anyways.
Beauty and simplicity. That's another thing I've been learning. Like, it's okay to go back and learn what the heck the Apostles' Creed is even saying, or try to remember the name of the prayer. That's okay. It's a simple thing. And like you talked about in the very first episode, Cecilia, like, you know, you learn all those things, and it's okay to like break it down and take baby
Mhm.
steps again, you know. And that can be the same way with like your habits and perfectionism, you know. And I think building like good routines throughout the day, that helps me a lot, like to make sure I wake up at the same time every day and everything. But like start with just one thing, you know. So
Mhm.
start with not snoozing the alarm, you know, and then you can move to like, I don't know, drinking more water every day, or getting off your phone while you're driving, you know, that's a big one.
Mhm.
Stuff like that. So I don't know. I think hopefully that kind of applies to what you were saying. Sorry, I'm a yapper. I feel like I'm
Good.
talking a lot. You can cut stuff
Awesome.
out.
No, I will not. That was all
Only me.
very beautiful, very well put.
It was very well put.
Thank you. I know that excellence is a very broad topic, and I just want to make sure that hopefully people can understand it and relate to it. And then there's also my perfectionism side of it, where I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I don't answer it correctly, you know? But hopefully somebody
Right.
benefits.
Well, you know,
and
going
God
into
smiles.
this, like I said in the beginning, is like I know little to nothing about it, and I mean, just sitting here for the last 30 minutes, you definitely like made something click.
Mhm.
I've learned something here, and just to give that general basis of what the virtue is good enough for some
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
You know, because if you know what something is, if anybody wants it enough, you know, they're gonna go explore more in depth of
Mhm.
what that means, what excellence means.
Yeah.
Right. As I feel like, I mean, if I ask someone to list 10 virtues, excellence would most likely not be on that
up
list.
there.
It's not
Yeah.
something that is really talked about. I mean, I didn't know what it was until this year.
Yeah.
So it says a lot to have you just come on and give a general.
Well, thank you.
You know.
Yeah. And it was very well said.
Was
I
very
appreciate
well said.
that. Thank you.
Any final thoughts? Anything you haven't yapped about yet?
This is gonna sound really selfish.
Go for it.
Did you want me to introduce myself? I noticed, but like didn't do that, and I didn't know if you wanted to say something.
Cecilia.
Me?
Her whole thing was Cecilia messed up again. This is crazy.
It's okay. I'm okay without it. I just
No. The people have to know we were too caught up on the whole
cousin thing.
We're sorry, Madeline.
No, it's okay.
From the deepest parts of my heart, I am truly sorry for
deep.
Cecilia's behavior.
Not very mindful. Not very demure.
No, absolutely. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you came from, some accomplishments, who your family is.
Well, my
all
family starts with Cecilia and Andrew. Just kidding.
That's
well,
it.
Not really. That's all of them. I'm a senior here at McNeese. I'm majoring in kinesiology with a sports and wellness management concentration. For those who are wondering, that can literally be very, very broad. So I graduate in December, and I will do my master's starting in January in exercise physiology. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. My family's always been Catholic. They're super great. They live in Texas now, so I'm on the road all the time because I'm back and forth to see them. Let's see, I grew up dancing and stuff. That's how Andrew and I met. That's how we actually got really close at the beginning of this year.
Nobody knew that until just now.
Well, they know now, and you're not going to cut it out. I don't care what you say. And Andrew's a fantastic, what about dancer?
Danseur.
That's
Juliana.
the male.
It's pronounced danseur.
Danseur.
Dinosaur.
Yeah.
No.
But so yeah, I've grown up dancing my entire life. I was in marching band in high school and first 2 years of college. And all of those things, you know, I was singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer by the time I was 9 months old for Christmas. So I've always been very like active and on my feet and obviously a yapper. And so I think all of those things have kind of led me into the kinesiology and like fitness kind of world. Trying to think of things that aren't necessarily like of the world that could describe me. I don't know. Trying to give y'all enough info.
Madeline is very wise and intentional.
I thought you were about to say wild. I thought you were saying Madeline is very wild.
Screamed into the
She's very
microphone.
wise and intentional, and
I didn't know you thought that. Thanks.
and very, very affectionate. Like if she loves, I don't know, she loves big. She loves hard.
Oh,
Period.
thank
She
you.
does. She really, if she feels like she's offended somebody, she'll make sure that she fixes that and makes up, even if she doesn't offend. Like as mentioned at the beginning of this year, Madeline and I got really close. We were working on a show together, which was just the greatest thing ever.
Very life-changing.
One of my favorite things that I've ever um, had to perform. But during that time, I was definitely really, really hard on Madeline. I always gave her a hard time. Almost gave her a heart attack a few times.
He almost killed me.
I did. That was the greatest thing ever.
Well, maybe we'll post that clip
True
on the
colors.
Instagram.
We will.
Behind the scenes. That's
We
a good
will.
idea.
We will. But it was always Madeline and I, just the beginning of this year, we would go back and forth, kind of crack jokes at each other. If she ever thought she overstepped. If she ever thought that she overstepped, she would make amends real quick, which was always very sweet. Also took a trip with her to California, which was very nice. Sophia is actually our next guest.
Yay! Okay, then I'm
great.
name dropping Sophia Alomi. Love her. Her family was the
She
people
is
I
great.
went on the Camino with, so they're fantastic.
Snaps.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say about Madeline.
That's it.
He's done.
Thank y'all. I didn't realize y'all thought of me that way. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. Stop.
Oh, girl, you
So-
good.
We're good?
Yeah.
Would you like to close off in a prayer for us?
Sure. Let's go ahead and say Hail Mary because I was mentioning that earlier. And I
Mhm.
want to challenge everybody who's listening to go and sit down and either dissect the Hail Mary, Our Father, Glory Be. Like, think of one of the basic prayers that you probably
act
say
of
a lot.
contrition.
The act of contrition, that goes a lot with perfectionism and
Mhm.
excellence and all the things. That's
Absolutely.
actually what was playing in my mind thinking about this. So go choose your favorite prayer that you've known since you were like 5 and dissect it and sit in adoration if you want, and go through that. And I think it'll really make an impact. But we'll just say a little Hail Mary. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. And Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Well, thank you so much, Madeline,
Yes,
for
thank you
coming
for
on and
having me.
talking.
Yes, I've
And
really been looking
butterflies.
forward to this for a while. So
Yeah.
it's nice to have my favorite cousin ever
Mm.
on the show.
That's saying a lot. There's a lot of us.
There are a lot of us.
You've probably met like half of our family that we probably haven't even met.
No, definitely.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wild. But
So,
yeah,
Okay.
stay tuned for more awesomeness coming up.
Great
Yeah,
outro.
keep it.
Cece. Good one. Thank you.
Bye.
Cute.